Here's the stuff that we've really got to be able to do. We've got to be able to take a list of numbers and put them in order. So this is where the steps from earlier come in handy that we didn't really talk about. So the first step is to look for key words. So in this problem, it says place the following numbers in ascending order. Well, what did ascending mean?
Well, if you look, ascending means going up. So that means they're going to start out to be little and they're going to get big. But first, we have to look at all those numbers.
Right. So once you found your key words, then we're going to make sure all of our numbers are in the same form. And if they're not, then we're going to put them in the same form. So we've got a fraction, 2/5, a square root of 5, a number in scientific notation, 5 times 10 to the negative 1, and a percent. Okay, so since these numbers are all different forms, we are going to change them all to percents, and we are going to use Desmos to do it. So for the first number, we're just going to put 2/5 into the calculator.
Alrighty.
And it gives us a decimal, and we know that the way to change any number to a percent is times 100. So that's our percent, 40%.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Shall we look at the next one?
The next one is the square root of 5. So let's put square root of 5 in.
All right.
And then the trick here, and Ms. Voss just did it, but the trick here is that after you've typed square root of 5, you have to click out here in the empty space before you do the times 100. So see how the times 100 is not under the square root? That's super important. Okay, and that's 223.6%.
3.6%.
All right.
Okay. Perfect.
Next one, 5 times 10 to the negative 1 power. And then just like any other number, multiply by 100 to make it a percent.
And tap out in the empty spot so that it's not up top. There you go.
So we have 50% for that one. And then here's the good news. The last one is already a percent, so we don't have to do anything with it.
Those are my
So
favorites.
55%. I'm going to rewrite it just so we don't forget it. Okay. Now let's read these answers, and it's going to be pretty easy to tell which ones are the smallest and which ones are the biggest.
Absolutely.
So I have 40%, 223.6%, 50%, and 55%. And we were starting with the smallest numbers and then going up to the biggest numbers. So of these 4% here, which one is the smallest?
Well, if you look at that, I think it's pretty easy to tell that 40% would be the smallest.
It is. And now here's the last step. When you write your answer, we're not going to write 40% down here.
No.
We're going to write the original number. So 2/5 is the smallest of those 4. And now I'm just going to scratch it out because I'm done with it.
Okay. Then we're going to keep looking. We've got 223.6%. That's a very, very big number. So let's keep looking. We have 50% and 55%. Well, 50 is smaller than 55. So as we're going up, getting bigger and bigger, we're going to go to the next smallest number. So it goes right there, and we wrote it in original scientific form. After that comes 55%, which originally was a percent. So we'll write that down again. And last but not least, our largest was 223.6%, which is the square root of 5.
So even though all of these were written different in the beginning and they all have 5s in them and it might have gotten kind of confusing, once they're written as percents, putting them in order was pretty easy. Okay?
Absolutely. And we want to do this. The reason that we always put things into percents is because when we first started teaching together, we always put things in decimals to order them. But we had this student who was determined that percents was the best way to go. And we very stubbornly disagreed with him.
He drove us crazy.
It is true. But we realized in the spring, when other students, the majority of our other students were still getting these wrong, he was getting them right.
Yep.
And because of that, we actually changed the way we taught this to move into percentages, and it has been a huge improvement for all of our students. So that's why we're teaching it to you.
So when we go through the next and last example with you, follow along with us. Change the numbers to percents while we're doing it.
Absolutely. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to read this and we're going to look for a keyword. Place the following numbers in descending order. D like down. So that means we're starting with a big hot air balloon and we're going to get smaller and smaller. And what are those numbers, Ms. Benson?
So just like last time, we have a lot of different numbers over here. We have a fraction, 1/3, the square root of 3, 3 times 10 to the negative 2, which is scientific notation, and then we have a percent at the bottom.
All right. So
We're gonna
shall
change
we
them to
start?
percents?
Okay, let's start with 1/3. So I'm going to put that in our calculator. 1 divided by 3. Just like Ms. Benson said earlier, I'm going to tap over to the side. I have a decimal, but that's not good enough. I need a percentage. So I'm going to multiply by 100. And Ms. Benson is writing 33.3%. I forgot how to say percent for a second.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry about that. All right, and then we're going to look at the next one, which is the square root of 3. So square root of 3, again, gives me a decimal. I'm going to tap here in that blank spot so that I move my cursor out from underneath the radical. And I'm going to multiply by 100, and I get 173.2%. All right, again, that's what's important about making them all into the same form, okay? So the next one is scientific notation. It is 3 times 10 raised to the negative 2 power. Again, like Ms. Benson told me, tap in the blank spot, multiply by 100, and you get 3%. All right. And the last one, Ms. Benson?
It's already done for you.
Perfect.
Just going to write it out so we don't forget it. So on this one, we're going descending. So we're going to start with the biggest number and move down to the smallest. So out of this list of 4, which one is the biggest number?
Well, we can just count. I guess we can read them all off and then see. So 33.3%, 173.2%. That sounds pretty big. 3% sounds pretty little. And 39.5%. So which one do you use is the biggest, Ms. Benson?
173%.
Right, but she's going to write that in its original form, which is the square root of 3. Then she can circle it or mark it out, whatever she wants to do. And we're going to go on and we're going to look for one that's getting a little bit smaller. Not the smallest, but just smaller than that first number. So we've got 3 more to compare, don't we?
Yep.
33.3%, 3%, and 39.5%. Ms. Benson, which one do you think goes next?
So the biggest of those 3 is 39.5.
So that would be the one that goes next. And we're writing it in original form. It started as a percent. That's what we're going to write down. Excellent. Next, we have 2 more. 33.3% and 3%. So,
The bigger of those is 33.3.
and its original form is 1/3. And then finally, the 3% is definitely the smallest, and we're going to write it in its original scientific notation. And there's your answer. A lot has to do with staying organized and staying neat to be able to do this, okay? We're going to keep encouraging you. Use Desmos. It's a tool that you have. Use it for accuracy purposes, okay? We understand that a lot of you like to do things in your head. That's fantastic, but it's not necessary, all right? If you want to practice that, go ahead, but always use Desmos to check yourself and make sure that you haven't made a mistake, because all of us make mistakes. It just happens, all right? So,
If you follow those steps, this is totally manageable, totally doable. And if you need help while you're practicing today, just remember to ask your teacher.
absolutely,
That's all there is to it.
because we can all do math. We are math whizzes.
Mm.
Yes, we are. See you guys later.